What is going on, everybody? We are live. I decided to jump straight into it. We are going to do our announcements to everybody, but we are live. We are back. I appreciate every single one of you guys who has bear with me. Okay, it has been chaotic at the Vince Wilson household. We are trying to adapt to a new schedule. It has just been chaotic. That's the best way to describe it. But I appreciate every single one of you guys. Let me make sure my audio's check is going on here. It's good. We are going to watch a little bit about the Trump tariffs. We're going to be talking with Miss Mandy as well, explaining her situation, because we all know that Trump's Social Security stuff is just flat out crazy. Yo, Spartacus, welcome in, buddy. So yeah, we're just jumping straight into it. I'm not even going to put out all my notifications. For anybody who's unaware, I was sitting there trying to figure out for the life of me how to get this app, this little thing right here, to work. It wasn't working. And I meant to stream it from TikTok here. So tonight, we're going to try to do some call-ins. We are also going to do some React videos. You're going to have to wait, little girl. And then we're going to try to do all those. We're also going to watch the videos. So if there's anybody who wants to call in and debate, you're more than welcome to. I know I've had a few people that come on here that wanted to debate and everything. And unfortunately, I just wasn't able to because of, trying to make sure I had everything sorted out. And I think the other thing, too, is as we start getting more people in here, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. If you're on Twitch, please just hit the follow button. One of the things we're changing up here for the stream, this is the early bird gets the worm, so you guys can see some of this conversation, is that we are looking to try and change the formatting. So I've been reacting to news. The problem is that when I react to news today, it's for news from yesterday or Monday even. And the problem with that is by the time that Tron actually gets the videos out, it's already Thursday or Friday, which means Monday's news is now old news. So to be more relevant and to have longer lasting videos, we are going to focus on more React videos. We're going to react to certain Trump videos. We might react to certain debates or Jubilee videos, whatever it may be. And we're also going to do live debates. So that format's changing a little bit. But in order to do that, I got to get this dang thing to work and figure out how to get that to work. Because right now it's almost impossible to get it to work, and I don't know why. I have an idea of what I got to do, but I'm probably going to have to end up getting a little tiny headpiece down there to try to connect to my switchboard. It's insane. Okay, now, enough about me. Let's jump in there. Let's start talking about Trump. Trump has been up to a lot of crazy things lately, one of which is today he announced he was going to impose tariffs. You heard that right. He decided to do a flat baseline 10% across the board. There's some funny things that happen with that, and we'll try to go over that a little bit. If anybody wants to debate me, they're more than welcome to come into the chat and debate. And we're going to talk with Miss Mandy about her situation and the kind of I told you so about that. So let me go ahead and get this pulled up. I'm terribly unprepared at the moment. So I'm going to get this pulled up real quick for you guys so we can watch this. I'm extremely unprepared. Unprofessional on me, I know. Normally I'm very well prepared, but today I was too busy. Here, just so you guys know how dedicated I am to this stream, even though it may not feel like that because I missed Wednesday, Friday, and Monday streams. I come home, and this is part of the reason why I've had this issue of dedication, I guess you could say a little bit. I come home from work 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, only to then set up stream, or if I'm, one of the things that ends up happening is I'll occasionally go in and I will go and eat dinner or something like that before stream. So by the time I get done eating dinner, it's like 6:30, and then I come in here at 7, stream, and in a lot of cases, I actually have schoolwork after stream. I'm a very busy individual. So that's why I've been kind of stuck on this hamster wheel of trying to get through this school. This is my last semester of school. Thank you. So I won't have to worry about that part after streaming, which means I could probably stream a little bit more. I'll also be on the road at some point, so you guys will be able to see me in a different format. So there's a lot of stuff going on in my personal life that makes it difficult for me to stream, but I'm here. Enough of my woes, enough of my crying. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so let me pull up the Trump. Actually, first, Miss Mandy, if you want to jump in, I don't want to waste too much of your time. Jump into the general chat, and then we can talk about your situation. I'll also then go into should work. Cool, perfect. That actually worked really well right there. Well, y'all can't see it. It's a little bit over here. On the other screen, it's over here. We're going to talk with Miss Mandy about her situation, and then we're going to watch the Trump Liberation Day tariff speech. So get this pulled up real quick. Getting ready to go on this one, and we'll read through this. There we go. Cool. So that's ready to go. Hey, Miss Mandy, can you hear me? I sure can. Let me make sure that chat is able to hear you. Hold on one second. All right, say something. Okay, try it again.
Something.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. All right.
All right. So, guys, this is Miss Manny. She is our producer. She's done an amazing job trying to provide for us as best as we can. I'm going to let Miss Mandy go ahead and speak for what she's going through right now. And I'm not saying I told you so, Miss Mandy, but to all of our audience members. So, Miss Mandy, go ahead, take it away, and let us know about your situation, what you're going through currently.
Okay. So, I am on disability. I have lupus, and I also have brittle bone disease, a couple other medical issues. But I worked since I was 14 years old. I paid into the system. And so when I applied for disability, they denied me twice, but then they approved me and said, you paid into the system a bit actually. And so they're going to approve you. And I've been getting disability for 3 years now. And then it did not go in the day it was supposed to go in on the 1st, which concerned me greatly. And I was like, well, it'll probably go in later in the morning because it's usually there at 6 o'clock in the morning, but it wasn't there. So I called them as soon as they opened the phone line at 8 a.m. And I got somebody within about 30 minutes, not too bad. And the woman immediately told me, well, due to rollbacks was her first words out of her mouth. And you could have stabbed me in the gut due to rollbacks. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. Due to rollbacks? She said, yes, ma'am, due to cutbacks in our staff and system, we have to wait till all the auditing is done before we can pay the people that we know are alive and are supposed to be receiving Social Security disability benefits. It could take a week. It could take 6 months.
I'm sorry.
And you know that I am a Trump supporter. I have been. I even defended Trump on my channel. And I feel like I've been greatly deceived. I'm just hurt. And besides not knowing what I'm going to do, I feel very deceived.
No, and I completely sympathize with you. Sorry, there's noise going on in the background right now. There's a guest at our house, and my dog is in our room, and she hears the guest outside, and so she's at the door, high-pitched whining. And so I'm listening to what you're saying, and I know you've already told me, but I completely sympathize with what you're going through. I've already said I want to bring awareness to this to my audience, because I think the one thing that people don't understand, and I had to do a little bit of research on this, you guys in the audience, y'all don't understand. This is actually starting to happen across the country. It specifically happened to Maine, but from what I can tell, I believe Massachusetts is also feeling a little bit of that pinch. I think, and Miss Mandy, you can go ahead and kind of explain why you think that delay is potentially happening. I want you to go ahead because you provided this
Well,
explanation.
the woman on the phone told me it just started this month, so therefore it just started yesterday. Um, so we're gonna hear more and more about this as the days tick away. Um, so just wait. It's about to hit the ground running.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that what it is that Miss Mandy explained it to me because I'm not super familiar with Social Security. As old as I may look, unfortunately, I don't know much about.
ancient, ancient. No, I'm just kidding.
I may not know much about Social Security, but from my understanding is that they receive these payments throughout the month, and so because of that, we're only seeing the first little round of um, checks going out, and because of that, there's going to be a little bit of a delay effect. So, and in many ways, you guys are hearing this first on the Vince Wilson show. I'm having to get used to that. I'm almost saying doghouse.
Mhm.
Y'all are starting to see
And
that, and yeah, go ahead, Miss Benny.
oh, I'm sorry. And that was another thing she said that there was going to be in sets of threes. Apparently. So this is the first set of rollbacks, and there was going to be two more. So I don't know exactly what that means, but
Well, I'm hoping and I'm praying it's not, the complete rollback of Social Security, which would be absurd. But I've told people this many times. I was on a TikTok live the other night, and I was talking with them, and I heard a young lady saying, surely there's an explanation behind why it was about Signal, why JD Vance has Signal on their phone. And I told them, I said, that's what we've been saying all along. There is no reason. They are working, they are so outlandish with how they're approaching this. We are in new territory. So, any norm that you might think of, like you may think that this particular administration has it all figured out and is following norms, they're not following norms, right? They're going by their own tune, and consequences be damned. And there are real life effects to these, and we're witnessing and we're talking with one person who's going through these consequences right now. Um,
and the one thing that they promised, I can just hear Elon Musk in my ear saying, we're not going to touch Social Security disability benefits. We're not going to, no payments are going to be affected. I can just hear that in my ear right now. And I actually went back and searched and found them saying it over and over and over, and it's just not true.
yeah, it certainly looks that that's what they're going to do. We've seen Howard Lutnick, for example, last week, I believe it was, mentioned if you complain about your Social Security check, then you must be a fraudster. Miss Mandy, I know you fairly well, and I don't believe you're a fraudster. So,
No, not that I'm aware of. I haven't
right.
been told that.
You're not 200 or 300 years old now, are you?
No, no, I'm not 200.
Okay.
No, I'm not dead to my knowledge either.
Yeah, and I think there's a few different things that are going on here. Wes said my conservative aunt still believes that they're not going after any type of Social Security. Well, you can play her this video
I,
here. We have a real life example of someone who is going through those. If anything, if they're not here's the thing to think about this. If they're
and
not
I defended that, Wes. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm
oh,
sorry.
good. You're good. Go ahead.
And I defended that to so many people that no, they're not going to touch your Social Security. They're not going to touch your Medicaid. They promise no, they're not touching food stamps. Now I wonder, are they going to take my $19 a month off my food stamp card?
Right.
Are they gonna mess with my Medicare?
Yeah, and I think that's important too. Is I think there's two sides to this coin. The one is less diabolical, which is that they are just simply short-staffed, in which case it's the Trump administration's fault, or they are genuinely cutting people's checks off. There's another thing in a theory that I have going on right now that obviously is very hard to confirm, but I'm worried about them purging the rolls on Social Security and some innocent people being caught in the crosshairs on that. And it could be a mix of all three, to be quite frank. So we'll see. But I'm hoping and I'm praying that this isn't going to happen. But we're 2 months into this administration. We're already seeing tariffs being put at record levels. We'll go over those levels, by the way, here in a bit. And then we're also seeing Social Security being rolled back. People going after SNAP benefits, for example. We see, Wes mentioned it earlier, U.S. citizens or even legal residents being deported to El Salvador,
Yeah,
which
it's scary.
And this is 2 months in. Like, I don't want to be dramatic in any stretch of the sense, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge that this administration has punched it into overdrive.
They
And
just need to calm down
yeah,
and stop trying to be Caesar Augustus and Billy Bad Butt and just make competent decisions and stop trying to rush into everything. They're trying to rush too much. And that's my personal opinion. But when you rush into things, you make mistakes. And I just think that's what's happening.
I completely agree with you. And that's something that concerns me. I wish that I had the means to help you out as well, Miss Mandy.
Oh, no,
Uh,
no, 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 no.
no, I know.
God's got me.
I'm sure, and I will keep you at my prayers at the dinner table as well, and even my church group as well. I think that we are in for some very rough times ahead, and I think that what we need to do is we need to. This is where your community is super important. I know Wes. Me and him talk all the time about how he goes and volunteers at food banks, and he gets to know his community quite well. This is where the community really steps in, and we get together, especially with tariffs being implemented the way they are. And I am extremely fearful, and this is why the title of the stream is that we are heading towards a Great Depression. I hate to be that way. I hate to be pessimistic, but the reality doesn't really meet the justification. So we are going to see people who are going to probably rush out and try to buy non-perishable items. You thought the toilet paper shortage of 2020 was bad. I fear this might be worse. I hate to be the doom guy. Yeah, no, Doron, I appreciate you coming in. Welcome in, buddy. Stay positive. I will try to stay positive. But unfortunately, there's just not a lot of positive news right now. There's just not. That's the unfortunate thing about it. When people ask me, do you think there's anything that Trump has done that's been, a good thing? Maybe, but it's not of anything of substance, right? I mean, like you could maybe say that making cartels I'm going to say the TikTok word, but a T group, could be a good thing. But unfortunately,
I would say securing the border. He did a good job at securing.
Oh, we talked about that. Yeah, right. I mean, the fact that he put the military at the border and stemmed some of the immigration at the border, sure. Yeah, I mean, for every one minor good thing, there's 15 bad that kind of follow. Doron said, but in the end, it may pay off for America. That was my dog chasing her tail. No, so in the end, it may pay off for America. That may is not substantiated by any credible evidence. If you look at the tariffs, the way that they're going to crash the economy, they're worst case scenario, there may not be an economy to recover from. Okay. So may is at the expense of I'm being hyperbolic, but 1,000% inflation. Okay. So yeah, I'm a little nervous about this. And keep in mind too that the idea, and I've argued this since last year on TikTok, on here, everywhere, the idea that this tariff is going to somehow bring American manufacturing back to the United States. The problem is, if your idea is that we don't have an existing manufacturing plant, you still have to build that plant. It takes time. Chip manufacturer plants, by the way, take years and years. So again, that's the big thing.
Oh, Wes, that's sweet.
What?
He said, yes, chat, go and help people in your community. I've packed over 1,000 lunches for kids today and then delivered 600 pounds of produce to food not bombs. I don't know.
It's probably like
But
it's probably a pro-Palestine thing. But anyways, yeah, go ahead.
okay. Get out into your community and help people. That's sweet, Wes.
Yeah, Wes is an
Sorry.
awesome person. No, you're good. Wes is an awesome person. Hold on one second. There we go. My mic was muted. 1 second here. Okay, sorry about that. I'm like over here trying to figure out my stuff. Have faith. I have very little faith on this. Okay. But yeah, massive W for Wes. All right. Well, Miss Mandy, I want to shout out Miss Mandy's channel. Wes, Spartacus, any of you guys that have mod, I believe there's a command for shouting out Miss Mandy's channel. If not, just copy Miss Mandy's channel in the chat. Go give her a subscription and a like on her channel on one of her videos, and check out some of her live streams. She does a lot of React videos, and it's pretty awesome. So, Miss Mandy, go ahead. You can give yourself an outro if you like.
Just it's Miss Mandy Reacts. We have a good time over there. We just kind of laugh and do open panels and have a good time. So check it out. And,
thank you, Wes.
Thank you for hearing me out, guys. Just be careful. Be careful. And
absolutely.
Washington support.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Miss Mandy, for coming on. And I hope you have a great rest of your evening. All right, guys. So let me go get this video pulled up. Give me 1 second.
April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the...
So we're going to watch this. This is Trump announcing his tariffs, his Liberation Day. That's what we're about to watch, guys. Buckle in. It is a lengthy video, about 40-ish minutes long. We're going to crank this bad boy up because we know that Trump likes to talk pretty slow. So let's go ahead and crank this up to about 1.5. All right.
The day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. American steelworkers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen, we have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign...
Isn't that crazy, Miss Mandy, that it sounds normal?
Scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream. We had an American dream that you don't hear so much about. You did 4 years ago, and you are now, but you don't too often.
The American dream 4 years ago was when a lot of people lost their jobs due to your terrible, terrible economic policies and terrible handling of COVID-19. So spare me with that great American economy. We were far from great, and it actually took Joe Biden to recover your terrible policies. We had a great economy that you now are destroying.
Many years and decades even, you didn't hear too much about. Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen. In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us.
This framing of reciprocal tariffs as if we somehow were getting tariffed like crazy is just laughable. We'll go through some of those numbers here in just a little bit.
And we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that. This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence. For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper, and in so doing, use trillions and trillions of dollars to reduce our taxes and pay down our national debt, and it'll all happen very quickly. With today's action, we are finally going to be able to make...
Keep in mind, his tariffs going up as high as they did is due to the fact, our debt going up the way that it's going up is due in part to Donald Trump's terrible spending habits. And he actually is calling for an increase on the debt ceiling. Tell me about how that's going to increase our deficit.
America great again, greater than ever before. Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country, and you see it happening already. We will supercharge our domestic industrial base. We will pry open foreign markets and break down foreign trade barriers. And ultimately, more production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers. This will be indeed the goal.
He's so insane. He doesn't care about anyone but himself now. All that voted for will find out the hard way. Yeah, exactly, Shion. The whole thing about MAGA is they don't actually care about like the consequences, right? They vote in because they're like, yeah, own the libs. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's affecting them. And then they start crying, begging for mercy. But it's too late at that point, right? By the time it reaches their doorstep, it is far too late.
Golden age of America is coming back. We're going to come back very strongly.
His hair might blow off.
We're pleased to be joined on this momentous occasion by Vice President J.D. Vance. J.D., thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Where are you, J.D.? Oh, that wasn't too hard to find. I was looking, he likes to take a low-key attitude, so usually we sit right in front. He's gaining a lot of confidence, Mike, isn't it? And nearly my entire cabinet is here, as well as Speaker Mike Johnson, who's done an amazing job.
It's so dumb because tariffs can be good, but like you have to prepare for them and use them. Well, yeah, I mean, they could be used for a great tool, but I've been hearing whispers that this is probably going to damage the reputation of tariffs for a long, long time to come.
And with the great success we had last night in Florida, we have a majority of 7. And 7's like a lot when we had it at 1, right? You've done a fantastic job. And many of the members of the House and Senate are with us. Senators, Congressmen, thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it. For decades, the United States slashed our trade barriers on other countries, while those nations placed massive tariffs on our products and created outrageous non-monetary barriers to decimate our industries. And in many cases, the non-monetary barriers were worse than the monetary ones. They manipulated their currencies, subsidized their exports, stole our intellectual property, imposed exorbitant VAT taxes to disadvantage our products.
Inverted mystic. Woo our boy Trump. Yeah, Trump. The guy that's about to absolutely send us into an economic depression. Donald Trump, are you going to piss and moan for the next 8 years after his third term? After his third term? The third term that's going to be unconstitutional, that he continues to prove that he cares very little about the Constitution. Yeah, that third term.
Adopted unfair rules and technical standards and created filthy pollution havens. They were absolutely filthy, but they always came to us and they said, we're violating, we should pay for it. It's all detailed in a very big report by the U.S. Trade Representative on foreign trade barriers, and I'll just hold it up for you. It's available, and you don't have to pay too much, as I understand it. You'll pay nothing. It's a lot of work. A lot of work for something, actually, because it's a special book. It's very, frankly, it's very upsetting when you read it, when you see what people have been doing to us for 30 years.
Hopefully he makes that available, because I would love to read this foreign trade barriers, which it's referenced in some of his infographics.
This all happened with no response from the United States of America, none whatsoever. But those days are over. Let me offer just a few examples of the vicious attacks our workers have faced for so many years. The United States charges other countries only a 2.4 tariff.
Inverted. How is he making America great again? Please do enlighten me. Tell me, how is he making America great again? Please tell me how.
On motorcycles.
What's up, Texas Repo? Welcome in. Trump is a patriot. Democrats hate America. Okay.
Meanwhile, Thailand and others are charging much higher prices, like 60%. India charges 70%. Vietnam charges 75%, and others are even higher than that. Likewise, until today, the United States has for decades charged a 2.5 tariff, 2.5% on foreign-made automobiles. The European Union charges us more than 10% tariffs, and they have 20% VATs, much, much higher. India charges 70%.
Now, keep that in mind, what he just stated, right? So when he's making these numbers, he's saying that the VAT tax is a tariff on the United States. So he's lumping these certain taxes in with tariffs that they're levying against us. But that's just not entirely true.
Perhaps worst of all are the non-monetary restrictions.
And in fact, if you look at some of the tariffs that these countries are levying against us, they're far less than the percentage that Donald Trump is about to put in his infographic.
Restrictions imposed by South Korea, Japan, and very many other nations as a result of these colossal trade barriers. 81% of the cars in South Korea are made in South Korea. 94% of the cars in Japan are made in Japan. Toyota sells 1 million foreign-made automobiles into the United States, and General Motors sells almost none. Ford sells very little. None of our companies are allowed to go into other countries. And I say that, friend and foe. And in many cases, the friend is worse than the foe in terms of trade. But such horrendous imbalances have devastated our industrial base and put our national security at risk. I don't blame these other countries at all for this calamity. I blame
Savage Clown, what did Trump do to, what is he fixing? How is he fixing? Okay, if anything, he's trying to fix the own mess that he made. Joe Biden gave him a beautiful economy. We had 32 record highs on the stock market, and he's already managed to tank those record gains. Okay, so don't even spare me. What is he fixing?
Blame former presidents and past leaders who weren't doing their job. They let it happen, and they let it happen to an extent that nobody can even believe. That's why, effective at midnight,
exactly,
we will impose a 25% tariff on all foreign-made automobiles. Thank you.
Yeah, if you want a new car, good luck. The used car market's about to be crazy.
Brian, I'd like to have you come up here for a second, okay? I just see him sitting. He's been a fan of ours, and he understands this business a lot better than the economists, a lot better than anybody. Brian, say a few words, please, would you? Thank you. It's a great honor to have you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I grew up just north of Detroit, Michigan, in Macomb County, known as the home of the Reagan Democrats. My first vote for president was for Ronald Reagan. I thought that was going to be the best president I ever saw in my lifetime until Donald J. Trump came along. I have watched my entire life, I have watched plant after plant after plant in Detroit and in the metro Detroit area close. There are now plants sitting idle. There are now plants that are underutilized. And Donald Trump's policies are going to bring product back into those underutilized plants. There's going to be new investment. There's going to be new plants built. And the UAW members, and I brought 20 of them with me, they're sitting right over here. We support Donald Trump's policies on tariffs 100%. So, Mr. President, we can't thank you enough. And in 6 months or a year, we're going to begin to see the benefits. I can't wait to see what's happening 3 or 4 years down the road. Thank you, Mr. President.
What a great guy. He got it right from the beginning. He got it before almost anybody else. This group over there, they got it too. And, you know, we won the state of Michigan.
That's patently incorrect, Z3. Patently incorrect. In fact, a lot of the tariffs that he's levying he's saying that the percentage is based on, quote unquote, trade barriers. That's a very subjective number. I want to see what he's basing that percentage on. Because by that same metric, could we say the same thing?
We won almost all of them, but we won Michigan by a lot, and I want to just thank you all. The auto workers were fantastic. The Teamsters were fantastic. Everyone was pretty good, I will tell you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're going to be very happy very soon, and you probably see what's happening with all of the, not only car companies, but car companies in particular. You see it with all of the ones they're moving. They're announcing day in, day out. You're seeing it. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. With today's actions, we're also standing up for our great farmers and ranchers who are brutalized by nations all over the world. Brutalized.
He's referring
Canada,
to the
by the
Africa
way, imposes
stuff.
a 250 to 300% tariff on many of our dairy products. They
See how he's doing that? 250 to 300%?
do the first can of milk. They do the first little carton.
Which is, again, it's a threshold. Once a certain threshold has been traded, then those tariffs kick in. This is absurd.
Of milk at a very low price, but after that it gets bad, and then it gets up to 275, 300%. So when they're figuring what's Canada charging, they say, oh, about 2%, 3%. But take a look at what happens down the road. When you look a little bit, it's not a pretty picture, and we don't like it, and it's not fair. It's not fair to our farmers. It's not fair to our country.
Are you talking about Donald Trump, Bondi? Is that who you're talking about?
And with countries like Canada, you know, we subsidize a lot of countries and keep them going and keep them in business. In the case of Mexico, it's $300 billion a year. In the case of Canada, it's close to $200 billion a year. And they say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I mean, at what point do we say, you got to work for yourselves, and you got to, this is why we have the big deficits. This is why we have that amount of debt that's been placed on our heads over.
We have the largest debt because Donald Trump and Republicans love to spend money. It's Republicans that are putting us in this massive deficit, and then Democrats have to come along and try to fix your mess. And they tend to do it at a cheaper cost, by the way.
The last number of years, and we're really not taking it anymore. Through non-tariff barriers, the European Union bans imports of most American poultry. You understand? They say, we want to send you our cars, we want to send you everything, but we're not going to take anything that you have. Australia bans, and they're wonderful people. And
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that poultry was the only thing we were sending to the EU. Make that make sense.
Wonderful everything, but they ban American beef, yet we imported $3 billion of Australian beef from them just last year alone. They won't take any of our beef. They don't want it because they don't want it to affect their farmers. And you know what? I don't blame them, but we're doing the same thing right now, starting about midnight tonight, I would say. And China charges American rice farmers an overquota, it's called, a tariff rate of 65%. South Korea charges 50%. Actually, they charge different, from 50% to 513%. In Japan, our friend charges us 700%. But that's
And I need to see these numbers because this is an absolutely insane thing. More than likely, these tariffs have to do exactly like Canada does. It's a quota that has to be met. And once that quota is met, then they implement those tariffs.
Because they don't want us selling rice and other things. Who can blame them, Madam Secretary? Agriculture, great job you did on eggs, by the way. The egg prices came down 50%. You got them.
They did not come down at 50%. The wholesale prices came down while companies wanted to profit off of the nice, cushy increased prices. So the actual prices at retail stores have not gone down, at least to that degree. And Savage Clown said, under Trump's first term, I refinanced my house at 2.5% interest. Now it's 7%. Took a HELOC out, make improvements. The house has 3.5% variable. Under Biden, it went to 8.25%, and I'm paying hundreds more. Well, first of all, it sounds like you took a variable interest payment. So that sounds kind of crazy. Again, first of all, I would have locked it in at 2%. Not financial advice, by the way. And your HELOC, you took a home equity line of credit out to make improvements on your house, and 305% variable. Yeah, again, I think what happened under Donald Trump was uniquely rare. We saw prices go really low. That's not because of anything particularly that Donald Trump did that was positive. It's kind of like the way that people right now, Republicans, are looking at the Democratic polling numbers. Republicans are looking at the Democratic polling numbers and going, see, this is a referendum on Democrats. It's like, no, you're reading the tea leaves wrong. This is a referendum from Democratic voters on the Democrats, not to then in turn vote for Republicans. Majority of the voters are like, hey, we want to hold our party accountable.
Down 50% once we got involved. They were going through the sky, the egg prices, they were going through the sky, and you did a fantastic job. Now we have lots of eggs, and they're much cheaper, down about 59% now, and they're going down further. We charge 2.8% for so many things that other countries are charging 200%, 300%, and 400% for. If imposing tariffs and protective barriers made nations poor, then every country on earth would be racing to eliminate these policies, and China would be the first in line. They run a very strong country. But they're not first in line, and the American people are paying a very big price. From 1789 to 1913, we were a tariff-backed.
Yes, housing prices went up under Biden because of Donald Trump's terrible policies. And everybody, and the housing market is a whole nother issue, right? We could look at the fact of a lot of people locking in their rates at a low rate so they didn't want to sell their house. The housing market is a very interesting beast.
Nation in the United States was proportionately the wealthiest it has ever been. So wealthy, in fact, that in the 1880s.
Savage Clown, Biden spent trillions, which caused inflation. Interesting, because I believe Donald Trump over the next 10 years spent $8 trillion, added $8 trillion to the deficit, where Joe Biden only added $4 trillion. Try again, Savage. Didn't work real well.
80s, they established a commission to decide what they were going to do with the vast
100% correct, Savage Clown. This was due to Donald Trump. And when inflation goes up right now under Donald Trump, guess who's going to own it? Donald Trump. Because this inflation is directly correlative and actually causative because of his tariffs.
Sums of money they were collecting. We were collecting so much money so fast we didn't know what to do with it.
Absolutely, Max. Right? They love to be conned. MAGA loves to be conned.
Isn't that a nice problem to have? What do you think, Marco? Good problem? Marco would love that problem. But we don't have that problem anymore, but we're not going to have it very much longer, I will tell you. But they collected so much money, they actually formed a commission to determine what they were going to do with the money, who they were going to give it to, and how much. Then in 1913, for reasons unknown to mankind, they established the income tax so that citizens, rather than foreign countries, would start paying the money necessary to run our government. Then in
Look up the Smoot-Hawley stuff, by the way. Smoot-Hawley was directly correlative to the Great Depression. Right before the Great Depression, we became an isolationist country, and then they implemented the Smoot-Hawley Act, which increased tariffs pretty high. I don't remember the exact percentage, but increased them pretty significantly, and then we had the Great Depression. It seems like history is doomed to repeat itself.
In 1929, it all came to a very abrupt end with the Great Depression, and it would have never happened if they had stayed with the tariff policy. It would have been a much different story.
I can't believe it. Yo, Miss Mandy gifting 5 memberships to viewers. Thank you, Miss Mandy, for doing that. Everyone who got a membership, hope you all enjoy it.
They tried to bring back tariffs to save our country, but it was gone. It was gone. It was too late. Nothing could have been done. It took years and years to get out of that depression, far longer than even...
Oh, yo, thank you for becoming a member. Oh, I need to pull up my super chat stuff because I can't see it on Streamlabs.
FDR had that office right over there for a long period of time. The ramp system, it's rather intricate, was built because of him, and every time you walk up, you think of him, and he did a great job in many ways, but it lasted long beyond his terms, as you know. But it's not too late any longer, and we're going to start being smart, and we're going to start being very wealthy again. We're going to be wealthy as a country because they've taken so much of our wealth away from us. We're not going to let that happen. We truly can be very wealthy. We can be so much wealthier than any country. It's not even believable, but we're getting smart. Nearly a century later, in the face of unrelenting economic warfare, the United States can no longer continue with a policy of unilateral economic surrender. We cannot pay the deficits of Canada, Mexico, and so many other countries. We used to do it. We can't do it anymore. We take care of countries all over the world. We pay for their military. We pay for everything they have to pay. And then when you want to cut back a little bit, they get upset that you're not taking care of them any longer. But we have to take care of our people, and we're going to take care of our people first. And I'm sorry to say that.
Do you say I'm sorry to say that we're going to take care of our people?
And today we're standing up for the American worker, and we are finally putting America first. In Sleepy Joe Biden's last year in office, the United States hemorrhaged 100,000 manufacturing jobs, and the number was going through the roof at levels never seen before. And our trade deficit
They went up because of Donald Trump's policies. Good job, Donald.
it reached a record $1.2 trillion, which is unheard of. Since the beginning of NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made. It was a horror show. I was able to terminate it. They all said you'd never be able to get it out. We had to get approval from Congress to get it terminated. We had to live with that deal. It was the worst deal, worst trade deal ever made by far. But since the very beginning of NAFTA, our country lost.
Didn't Trump, who was it that negotiated NAFTA? Because he's also ignoring the USMCA, which is interesting because the USMCA is the one that he agreed to. I'm almost positive the NAFTA was Trump, but I could be wrong on that one.
90,000 factories. Think of what that is, 90,000. Think about putting a map up and putting tax on it. You wouldn't have enough room. 90,000. I said, is that possible? We had to check 4 different.
What's happening to you guys? What's happening to us is that we're becoming a patriotic party, standing up for the constitutional protections of all Americans and all people in this country, whether illegal or legal. By the way, constitutional protections are extended to undocumented immigrants, by the way.
Times, and it was actually somewhat higher than that. And 5 million manufacturing jobs were lost while racking up trade deficits of $19
Amen, Miss Mandy, waking up.
That was the worst trade deal ever made. As a result of these gigantic losses, foreign nations now own $26 trillion more of American assets than the Americans own of their own foreign assets or other foreign assets. The United States can no longer produce enough antibiotics to treat our sick. We have a tremendous problem. We have to go to foreign countries to treat our sick. If anything ever happened from a war standpoint, we wouldn't be able to do it. We import virtually all of our computers, phones, televisions, and electronics. We used to dominate the field, and now we import it all from different countries. A single shipyard in China now produces more ships every year than all of the American shipyards combined. Think of that. And it was a business that we used to dominate. We used to dominate it totally. In short, chronic trade deficits are no longer merely an economic problem. They're a national emergency that threatens our security and our very way of life. It's a very great threat to our country. And for these reasons, starting tomorrow, the United States will implement reciprocal tariffs on other nations. It's been a long time since we...
It's not reciprocal because, again, Donald Trump was the one who levied these tariffs against these people. See, this is that weird gaslighting thing he does where he's trying to reframe history. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to reframe exactly what it is that's going on. Make it very clear. Donald Trump is the one who's he's initiating these tariffs. These are not reciprocal tariffs. These are initial tariffs. Wambulance, how about you actually provide something of substance now? Nowie?
Even thought of that. We used to think about it a lot. We didn't think about it for many decades, and you see what's happened. For nations that treat us badly, we will calculate the combined rate of all their tariffs, non-monetary barriers, and other forms of cheating. And because we are being very kind, we're kind people, very kind. You're not so kind when you got ripped off with your salaries. My auto worker friends and my Teamster friends and all of the unions that typically voted Democrat, they're not voting Democrat anymore because worker, whether union or non-worker, they're for the Republicans now. That's what happened. But we will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us. So the tariffs will be not a full reciprocal. I could have done that, yes, but it would have been tough for a lot of countries who didn't want to do that. I'd like to see the chart if you have it. Could you bring it up, Howard? This is our great Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. Thank you. So if you look at that, China, first row, China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So 67%, I think you can, for the most part, see it. Those with good eyes, with bad eyes. We didn't want to bring, it's very windy out here. We didn't want to bring out the big charts because it had no chance of standing. Fortunately, we came armed with a little smaller chart. So 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be because we never charge anybody anything, but now we're going to charge. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to say. It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half. Vietnam, great negotiators, great people. They like me, I like them. The problem is they charge us 90%. We're going to charge them 46% tariff. Taiwan, where they took all of our computer chips and semiconductors. We used to be the king, right? We were everything. We had all of it. Now we have almost none of it, except the biggest company is coming in. We're going to end up with almost.
So check this out, right? This is the board that he pulled up, and you can see China 67%. He's going to impose 34% tariffs. European Union 39%. And he's going to impose 20% tariffs. We'll go over this list. There's actually some flaws with this list, by the way. We'll get to that later.
40%. Lee Zeldin's working to get their approvals, and it's an amazing company. Mr. Wei, of one of the great companies of the world, actually. They're coming in from Taiwan, and they're going to build one of the biggest plants in the world, maybe the biggest for that. But 64%, we're going to charge them 32%. Japan, very, very tough. Great people. And again, I don't blame the people for doing it. I think they're very smart in doing it. I blame the people that sat right in that Oval Office, right over there, right behind the Resolute desk, or whichever desk they chose. Japan, 46%. They would charge us 46%, and much higher for certain items like cars, little items like cars. 46%, we're charging them 24%. India, very, very tough, very, very tough. The Prime Minister just left, and he's a great friend of mine, but I said, you're a friend of mine, but you're not treating us right. They charge us 52%. You have to understand, we charge them almost nothing for years and years and decades, and it was only 7 years ago when I came in, we started with China charging. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China in tariffs, and they understood, honestly. President Xi understood. He said, look, I understand, and the other countries said, they all understand. We're going to have to go through.
Keep in mind that 67% is, again, made up. Like, I've tried digging into these numbers. There's no way to find this number, because what he's doing is he's including trade barriers and all sorts of stuff. This just isn't true. And Fragenstein, YouTube economics isn't where you want to be. Don't listen to nobody's on YouTube. That's great. Thank you for your great insight, Frag. I appreciate how deep of an economic theories and everything you're into. Trouble is, it's you guys who will pay the tariffs. Exactly, Ian. The trouble is that every single MAGA that voted for this is about to pay for these tariffs massively. And good job, MAGA. You voted for this. You voted to raise your grocery prices. Good job. Oh, and when layoffs happen, you voted for that too.
A little tough love, maybe, but they all understand. They're ripping us off, and
You know what? I don't care. I'm going to say it. Clip it, ship it. I don't care. Send it. I hope that MAGA starts to lose their jobs. Why do I care about that? Because maybe then they'll understand. Maybe only then, when they realize, oh, I voted for this guy because I wanted to bring jobs back to the United States. But when now I've lost my job, maybe then, maybe, I'm a little pessimistic, because I know that they have this cult mentality that they can't seem to wrap around their head, right? They can't seem to get it around their head. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just a little pessimistic. But maybe it takes that. Maybe it takes for them to lose their job. This is so far above your head. Enlighten me, Nowie. But you MAGA don't like facts. That's why you're not going to provide anything, because you're just trolling.
Understood it. Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe. He was a fantastic man. He was unfortunately taken from us, assassination. But I went to him and I said, Shinzo, we have to do something. Trade is not fair. And he said, I know that. And he was a great gentleman. He was a fantastic man. But he understood immediately what I was talking about. I said, Shinzo, we have to do something. He said, I know that. And we worked out a deal, and it would have been a much better deal. But frankly, there were many years left in the deal that was made previous to my getting there. But it was something. If you look at Switzerland, 61% to 31%. Indonesia, Malaysia.
Wes said, don't give in to the dark side, Vince. I want nationalized health care. Even for those people, the only way they'll learn is by seeing that we are genuinely... No. Sorry, Wes. I don't care. I'm done with this. I'm done with this. Okay? I'm tired of playing by these nice rules that MAGA doesn't even play by. Right now, they're trying to own the libs. So I'm tired of playing by these rules. In my opinion, they need to understand that what they're doing in their vote has consequences. But they don't understand that. Now, I want to be very abundantly clear on this stream. I am not advocating for any kind of violence. That is not what I'm advocating for. What I am advocating for, actually, I'm not even advocating for it. I'm just telling you what the consequences are. You voted for this man to raise your tariffs, raise your prices at your grocery store, for your car, for your kids' daycare, for your insurance, for all parts of your life. And just know when you lose your job, which I kind of honestly hope you do, because maybe then you'll understand. Maybe then you will understand that your vote led to you losing your job.
Asia, Cambodia, oh, look at Cambodia, 97%. We're going to bring it down to 49. They made a fortune with the United States of America. United Kingdom, 10%, and we'll go 10%. So we'll do the same thing. South Africa, 60%, 30%, and they've got some bad things going on in South Africa. You know, we're paying them billions of dollars, and we cut the funding because a lot of bad things are happening in South Africa. The fake news ought to be looking at it. They don't want to report it. Brazil, 10%, 10%. Bangladesh is 74%. So you see what's going on. Pakistan, 58%. Sri Lanka, 88%.
It's actually simple, by the way. Someone said, how would tariffs affect daycare? Well, I'm glad you asked. So one of the ways that it could affect daycares is through increased costs. Well, guess what? Gasoline goes up and all those daycare vans or daycare buses, cost extra money. We can look at increased food costs. What about the diapers that we might import from other countries that some daycares will provide diapers. They may provide food. They may provide transportation. So when those costs go up, what happens to your price at the daycare? Oh, that's right. Prices go up. You MAGA seem to think about things in such a two-dimensional sense. You can't critically think about anything. And I understand it. I get it. You like the catchy slogan, "Make America Great Again." But in reality, you made America poor again. That is what your vote got you. I hope you're happy with it.
So what we're doing is we're taking we could take the full 88%. Thanks a lot. He's doing a very good job. How's he doing, huh? I think you better take it with you. It's not going to last very long. He's going to it's going to follow you down with the wind. I brought a hat just in case it got too windy, but here, would anybody like a hat? I'm not giving it to the cabinet. I'm giving it to the auto workers. Come here. Thank you, fellas. Yeah, that's it. That's it. They deserve it more than our cabinet. Our cabinet has plenty of hats. But you see the numbers. The numbers are so disproportionate. They're so unfair. At the same time, we will establish a minimum baseline tariff of 10%. You notice that on the chart? And that'll be on other countries to help rebuild our economy and to prevent cheating. So we're going to have a minimum of cheating, and we're going to be very severe on the people that at the gate that watch the tariffs and watch the product coming in, because there's been a lot of bad things happening at the gate because the money is so enormous that you're talking about. There's never been probably.
Ethan, please enlighten me. Why is Trump the president America deserves? If you're saying that America deserves a little bit of punishment, then maybe that's what you mean.
Anything like it in terms of the enormity, and there are a lot of bad things happen at the people that do the check-in, and they're looking at 10-year jail sentences if they do. But we're going to treat them so good, but if they cheat, the repercussions are going to be extremely strong. Foreign nations will finally be asked to pay for the privilege of access to our market, the biggest market in the world. We're right now the biggest market in the world. We had a great country 4 years ago in terms of the economics. We were doubling up on China. We were doing so well. Nobody was going to catch us, but so much of it slipped away over the last 4 years under Biden. I campaigned on this policy throughout last year, and today that promise was made, and it was also a promise.
President Biden had record oil production there, Savage. So try again. Good try. Try again.
As you know, that was kept. Promises made, promises kept. To any company that objects to our common sense reciprocal tariffs, again, reciprocal, back and forth, back and forth. And I call this kind reciprocal. This is not full reciprocal. This is kind reciprocal. But what we do is we cut it in half. We charge them. My answer is very simple. If they complain, if you want your tariff rate to be zero, then you build your product right here in America, because there is no tariff if you build your product in America. And we've seen companies coming in like we've never seen before. Likewise, all of the foreign presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens, ambassadors, and everyone else who will soon be calling to ask for exemptions from these tariffs. I say, terminate your own tariffs, drop your barriers, don't manipulate your currencies. They manipulate their currencies like nobody can even believe, which is a...
And I looked into this claim, by the way. There was a 2023 Treasury, U.S. Treasury report that actually found that certain countries are, in fact, not manipulating their currencies. It's just like a random talking point that Donald Trump is trying to throw out there to try to tap into this idea that we're getting ripped off, by the way.
Bad thing, and very devastating to us, and start buying tens of billions of dollars of American goods.
Biden did tap into strategic oil reserves, but that's not one of the reasons in which why oil went up, or if it didn't correlate. Okay, and keep in mind, Biden putting it out there did not actually affect oil supply, so to speak. It put it back onto the market to try to lower gas prices, which it did, but it didn't affect these are two different metrics, right? Oil supply is what we're kind of getting out of the ground, if you will. And even then, Biden still drilled more than ever. So, you know, and our gas prices did come down under Joe Biden. Maybe not to pre-pandemic levels, but they absolutely did come down. They were at like, it went down from like, I think it was like $5 a gallon down to $3. But yeah.
Goods tariffs give our country protection against those that would do us economic harm. And many people were looking to do us economic harm. Maybe not so obviously, but they were doing tremendous economic harm. But even more importantly, they will give us growth. These tariffs are going to give us growth like you haven't seen before. And it'll be something very special to watch. I am so looking forward. And Brian, it's going to happen even faster than you said. You know, you might say, but it's already started. It's already started. Work's already begun in plants all around the country. And you see that it's before. These are big, rich companies. We have $61 billion started on a big plant going up. It's going to be announced over the next 2 days, and they already started work. Many of these the biggest companies in the world, they've committed to build. We're going to build, sir. And they came here to see me, and they wanted to know they could have a press conference. I do as many as I can. I'm pretty busy trying to stop Russia and Ukraine and the Middle East. We got to stop that. We're going to stop the Houthis, which we're making tremendous. They like shooting ships down and out of the water, seeking ships. They get a kick out of it, but they're not.
And y'all like giving out classified information off of those signal apps too, don't you? I'm sure they'll see it coming a mile away. You getting paid to say this dumb shit? You know Kamala lost already, right? She's still not paying people, right? Now I'm not getting paid by a single political campaign. And second, I barely make any money on this platform, and I'm not ashamed by it by any means. Because I know that's a typical thing. I'm going to say I don't get paid, and they go, ha ha ha, you don't get paid. Yeah, you MAGA are just hilarious. Y'all got to better troll, man. Y'all got to work on your trolling. It's a little low. It's a little low.
Getting such a kick out of it now, are they, Mr. Secretary? They're not getting such a kick out of that now. But here are just a short list of some of the companies that have already announced and committed to investment. And this is a company that built its factories and its plants in China. Apple is going to spend $500 billion. They never spent money like that here. They're going to build their plants here. SoftBank, OpenAI, and Oracle, great companies, are investing $500 billion almost immediately. NVIDIA, a hot company, is investing hundreds of billions.
So I want to talk about this because I actually shared this with Wes. And Wes, you didn't message me back on this. Okay? Look, I dug into this. This is not due to Donald Trump. This has been an ongoing project. So it has been accelerated by Joe Biden because of the CHIPS Act. So one thing that these companies are relying on is AI. Did you reply to that, Wes? Hold on. I'm going to fact check you right now. Did you reply to my thing about the PC? Hold on, Wes. I sent it to you a while ago. I don't know. Maybe you did. I don't remember. It was a while back. It was about the CHIPS stuff, the CHIPS Act and stuff. But anyways, oh yeah, no, right here. I sent you. There was the last message I sent you. Check it. So anyways, basically what happened is that they are investing. So chips manufacturers are coming to the United States because they want to be closer to their consumer. This was accelerated by Joe Biden. Now, keep in mind, these projects take years because a chip manufacturing plant has to be, in essence, microscopically dust-free. Like, it has to be the cleanest place you've ever been, okay? So Joe Biden has spurred this investment. They're now coming to the United States, and now what's happening is these chips are used in AI processing. So what's happening now is these companies like NVIDIA, Oracle, all these other companies are now chasing that chip manufacturer, due in part to Joe Biden. Joe Biden's chip manufacturer, bringing chip manufacturers here to the United States, it's bringing in these people who use these chips like NVIDIA, like Oracle and things like that, to come to the United States because they now want to put their products out closer to the consumer. So it's a shorter supply chain. This has almost nothing to do with Donald Trump, by the way.
Billions of dollars. They just announced TSMC, the biggest, most important company in the world of chips from Taiwan. with no investment from us, is investing $200 billion. And they said the reason was, number one, the election of November 5th, and number two, the tariffs. They don't want to pay the tariffs, and the way they're not paying it is to build their plant here. So we're going to go from almost no percentage. We used to have 100% of the chip market. Now it's all in Taiwan. Almost all of it's in Taiwan, a couple of other countries, but mostly in Taiwan. And think of it, we had 100%. We lost it because of people in that office that didn't do their job. They allowed it to be stolen from us. Johnson & Johnson, great company, $55 billion. Eli Lilly, $27 billion. Meta is investing $500 billion. Wow. The Mac is investing $20 billion. CMA, CGM, $20 billion. And then you have Merck and Clarios.
Let's be very clear here, guys. Most of these investments are not something that just happens overnight. There's usually an analysis that's done. Majority of these investments are probably something. Here's the thing about these companies that you have to understand. Facebook knows this. Other countries know this. They know that if you give Trump a little bit of, favor, he goes a long way for you, right? And so what they've probably have done is they've already been like, hey, we were already going to come here. And they waited to announce it until Donald Trump was in office so that they can gain favors, gain tax breaks, pad their pockets of their CEOs. So there's reasons why they've done this. However, when they see that they're now being charged significantly more, and keep in mind too, this is the problem that people don't understand, is Donald Trump is levying this against countries that are going to levy it right back. So what that causes is for factories shutting down. We saw this with Canada, for example. The automobile supply chain goes up and down, up and down, up and down. It goes from Canada to Mexico to US to Canada and all those other places. So what you're going to see is when it costs them significant amount of money to move their cars back and forth, guess what? They're just going to cease operations because they're like, we got to wait till this thing blows over. And what happens is they end up trying to cut costs. How are they going to cut costs? All of you MAGA losers are going to get fired. Yep. That's how they're going to cut it off. Those blue collar workers that absolutely voted for MAGA are about to lose their job because guess what? Your company would rather pad the pockets of their CEOs and ensure the health of their company and their stockholders, it stays good. But you MAGA are going to be the first ones gone.
Stellantis, General Motors, GE Aerospace, Honda, Nissan, Hyundai are all putting in billions and billions of dollars, and they're committed 100%. So.
Did you just say Hyundai? Hyundai. Okay.
And we've never had, and this is after 2.5 months. This is after just a short, this all took place as soon as we came out with what everybody wanted to do. I watched a gentleman today on television. He used to work with Lee Iacocca, a very respected automobile person, and he said, because they're asking people, they try and get as many negative people as they can, but they can't find them too much. It's pretty hard to find in terms of what we're doing, especially when they see all this investment. They said, so tell me, what do you think of what Trump is doing from the automobile standpoint? He said, I can't believe it. Somebody is finally, he's an older guy, real pro, really top guy, with Lee Iacocca. He said, I never thought I'd see the day when this would happen, where somebody had the courage to go and do what has to be done. This is transforming our nation. Our entire nation is going to be transformed, not only with the cars, but in every single other item that's built. We're going to become an industrial powerhouse. And he said that so beautifully today. In fact, I'm going to find out, I'm going to get a tape, and Bruce, I'm going to get that tape, and I'm going to send it to you out of Long Island, and you're going to play it for the people. And all your union workers and your non-union workers out there, you got a pretty even split. But we have, so far, it looks like we're going to have about $6 trillion of investments, and you wouldn't do that in years in this country over the last number of years. $6 trillion, and that's going to be much higher by the end of the year. And think of what $6 trillion is. You wouldn't have even a small percentage of that under this other system. We're going to be an entirely different country, and it's going to be fantastic for the workers. It's going to be fantastic for everyone. There will never have been a transformation of a country like the transformation that's already happening in the United States of America. It's an incredible thing to watch, and it's incredible to meet with the top people that you read about, very wealthy people or people that are great managers and executives and presidents of big public companies, and to watch the enthusiasm they have now that they didn't have. They gave up on our country. They went to foreign countries and they built. Companies are pouring
Eating
into
tacos.
Our country at levels never seen before with
You
jobs
want
and
one?
money.
They're about to get a lot more
Really
expensive.
beautiful. In the coming days, there will be complaints from the globalists and the outsourcers and special interests and the fake news. Fake news will always complain. But never forget, every prediction our opponents made about trade for the last 30 years has been proven totally wrong. They were wrong about NAFTA. They were wrong about China. They were wrong about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would have been a disaster if I didn't terminate it. If I didn't terminate that, United Auto Workers, you would have had no jobs in this country. You would have had no jobs. It was all going to other countries. In my first term, they said tariff.
I would never eat such a thing as chicken nuggets.
would crash the economy. Instead, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world. And again,
might
great
grab you
respect
by
for
the
President Xi of
taco.
China, great respect for China, but
might.
they were taking tremendous advantage of us, and I commend them for that. I say, hey, if you can get away with it, that's okay. But they understand exactly what's happening, and they probably, most of them are saying it's about time they did something. But and they're going to fight. And they're going to fight fair. Everyone's going to fight. It's like I say to the leaders, look, you got to take care of your country, but we have to.
Why are you done, Wes? Why are you done modding? Come on now. It's not that bad. You're okay. You'll survive. You can do it. I trust in you. Nobody talks about nuggets like that. Listen, Dino Nuggy is the what is it? The caviar of the poor. No, I'm playing. Dino Nuggies are okay. But hey, look, I really hate that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. took this like healthy movement away from the left, and now like you're forced, if you sit there and like, I hate the fact that like if I advocate for like pasture raised chicken eggs or like no preservatives in food, that all of a sudden somehow like I now unfortunately align with RFK Jr. and I absolutely hate that alignment. I wish that it never existed. But anyways,
Start taking care of our country now. We can't do what we've been doing for the last 50 years. From the day of my election, the stock market went up in my first term 88%, with NASDAQ going up 155%, more than any president has ever.
Oh my God. By the way, as he was saying this, the stock market took now keep in mind, guys, this announcement was made at about 4:30-ish, which means that the stock market was long gone and over with and closed. He waited until the stock market closed to make this announcement. Why might he have done that? Because guess what? After hours markets went down dramatically. Like I'm talking like 1% to 2%. Now that's a dramatic decrease. And that was like within the first 5 minutes. So tomorrow is going to be very interesting to see how the stock market reacts. But the stock market's with extreme fear right now. 88%. Yeah, exactly, Dan, right? 88%. Where the heck is 88% coming from? Joe Biden, however, did have like 35 record highs on the stock market. Donald Trump, however, is about to tank the stock market. Yeah, 1,000 points. That's what I thought, Dan. They're down pretty bad. Oh, exactly, Wes. A 4% drop is literally trillions of dollars gone. Yeah, it's and this is after market, guys. The market's not open. So when that market opens, oh boy. Ugh.
Had in any term in office by far. And I think we're going to blow that away. And maybe the numbers won't show, but I think they're going to show much better than even those numbers. But what you're going to.
Oh, I believe it, Dan. I believe it. He raised it 23%. It was, like I said, 35 record highs on the stock market. Joe Biden did phenomenal in bringing back the U.S. economy from the brinks of Donald Trump's disastrous policies. Yeah, guys, look, if you're watching the stream, I'll do my quick announcement. Please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell if you do enjoy the content that we are providing. I know that I'm probably not going to be able to get around to doing debates tonight. However, on Friday, crossing my fingers, I will have my darned phone working for doing TikTok debates. We are going to do call-ins on Friday. So be prepared for that. If you have anything you disagree with me on, we will do Discord or bans. So you MAGA trolls out there, be on notice, because Friday we will be doing call-ins. Be prepared. I'm giving you forewarning. You have the advantage. I don't know what you guys are prepared to talk about. Okay? So that's happening Friday. But only way you're going to know is if you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. So make sure you do that, please.
You're going to see activity, that empty, dead sites, factories that are falling down. Those factories will be knocked down, and they're going to have brand new factories built in that place. They're not only talking about renovating, they're talking about brand new, the best anywhere in the world, the biggest anywhere in the world. I have a friend who builds car plants, and I said, I want to see the biggest and the best. He said, well, we have to go to Mexico. I said, no, I want to see it in the United States. He said, we're not building them in there. This is a year and a half ago during the campaign. He said, we're not building it. You have to go to Mexico. When I was starting to decide to run, and I went to number one in the polls very rapidly, I want to say, let's say in the first hour. And then shortly thereafter, it looked like I was going to win, and the fake news was saying, oh, no, don't do this. What they don't know is if I didn't win, they would have really been in trouble, because nobody wants to read them anyway. But I tell you what, when it looked like I was going to win, I announced that I was going to be doing exactly what we're talking about today. Great consistency, actually, because I've been talking about it for 40 years. But because I
Hey,
sold,
do y'all remember that promise that he made? It was a promise about something about grocery prices. Oh, was it the one about him wanting to lower grocery prices on day one? Oh, what about the Ukraine thing? He said he was going to end that on day one too. Didn't do that. Brand new factory takes how long to build? Longer than Foxconn? Yeah, reasonable descent. Yeah, those brand new factories are going to take quite a long time, right? The concept of a plan. So yeah. And keep in mind too that Joe Biden creating these plants, and this is what I was worried about, was there have already been manufacturing plants here in the United States, chip manufacturers, who are waiting for funding. They just haven't really gotten their funding going, so they haven't been able to really kind of continue to go on. Part of the funding requirements that I believe the Joe Biden administration made with the CHIPS Act is that they have to reach certain milestones before they receive funding. So there's that as well. So keep in mind, Donald Trump, they're going to finish the plant under Donald Trump's administration. And as all Republicans do, because they inherit a beautiful economy, he's going to claim credit for it. Oh, yeah, 100% reasonable. Exactly. You finished my sentence for me. That's exactly it. He was going to rain down hell on Hamas on day one if they didn't release the hostages. Yeah. 5 to 10 years to get a new car factory online. Is that how long it takes WNN? Now, keep in mind, too, the issue with car factories, by the way, is that Donald Trump will claim victory on that, even though it's not entirely true. You might have certain parts that are made here in the U.S. So, for example, this is hypothetical. I'm not an expert on car manufacturing supply chains here. They may bring a partially built car here to the United States, let's just say the steel frame, and all of a sudden now they're going to put the wheels on it here in the United States. But then they're going to ship it right back to Canada. But because they're putting the wheels on here in the United States, Donald Trump is going to say that a car is now made in the United States. So you have to be careful with the terminology that's being used. Groceries are down. Is he for real? Groceries are not down. I am for real.
what was happening 40 years ago. If you look at my old speeches when I was young, very handsome, my old speeches, and then people would say I'd be on a television show, I'd be talking about how we were being ripped off by these countries. I mean, nothing changes very much. The only thing that changed were the countries.
Yeah, milk $6 a gallon. Oh wait, are you saying that Donald Trump is saying grocery prices are down? Setting up the MFTR of car transition assembly line takes 6 months alone. Dang, reasonable. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
But nothing really changes. But it's why it's such an honor. It's such an honor to be finally able to do this. If you look at China, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in my term, hundreds of billions. They never paid 10 cents to any other president, and yet they paid hundreds of billions, so much so that Biden couldn't do anything. They wanted to try and terminate it because he had a very special relationship with China. You know what the relationship was? He had a special relationship. But the numbers were so big. The numbers were so big that they couldn't do it. So they did ease it up. They did things that they shouldn't have done. They made it a lot more comfortable for them, but they couldn't do it because the numbers were hundreds of billions of dollars, and I did that. And we were on our way to doing something like incredible. And then we had a very bad election happen, a very bad election. A lot of bad things happened. So when I said we're going to do it again, I said we have to make it too big to rig. And we made it too big to rig, and we won in records, and it was a monumental win. And it was such an honor to see so many of you, like Brian and your friends, here with us to celebrate, and to more importantly celebrate what we're doing, because that wouldn't be a full celebration if we didn't do this, because this will be an entirely different country in a short period of time. It'll be something the whole world will be talking about it. The critics made the very tired predictions earlier this year, but in February, core inflation dropped to the lowest rate in 4 years, and the price of eggs, as you know, just in a month and a half, we were there for 4 weeks. And the first week, I got blamed for eggs. I said, I just got it. They said eggs have gone up at like 250%, and you can't get eggs. And they were going crazy. And I said, I just got here. And then we got to work on eggs, and we got to work on everything. And our great Secretary of Agriculture, you did a fantastic job, Brooke Rollins. She did a fantastic job. And as I said before, the price of eggs dropped now 59%, and they're going down more, and the availability is fantastic. They were saying that for Easter, please don't use eggs. Could you use plastic eggs? I said, we don't want to do that. We want to, and you really came through.
Hey guys, so I started a goal, just so you guys are aware. We do now have super chats. We got that last week. We finally hit 1,000 subscribers. Pretty awesome goal. But yeah, we are doing I did put that on there. It is 5 super chats, and we'll go for another 30 more minutes. So y'all are aware, I end stream at 9 o'clock. So if I get 5 super chats, we go until 9:30. Just a heads up on that. Don't feel pressured or anything like that.
It's an amazing job. Thank you very much, Brooke. You did great. But likewise, an old-fashioned term that we use, groceries. I use it on the campaign. It's such an old-fashioned term, but a beautiful term, groceries. It sort of says a bag with different things in it. Groceries went through the roof, and I campaigned.
He said I campaigned on groceries. I got groceries. Groceries are an old-fashioned term, boy. What? What?
that I talked about the word groceries for a lot, and energy costs now are down, groceries are down, gasoline is way under $3, and people are beginning to be able to buy things and live
Under
again.
$3?
Prices way down.
Is it under $3? It's definitely not under $3. I believe the U.S. national average is still pretty high up there.
Created 10,000 already in a few weeks. New menu.
Every single swing state was red, first in history. Hey, Candu, did you see what happened last night with the Wisconsin Supreme Court decision? Or Wisconsin Supreme Court vote? Yeah, it went blue. Good job. Good job. Yeah, midterms are going to be pretty funny for you MAGA folks. The MAGA tiers are going to be great. I can't wait to see the MAGA tiers. No one said groceries before him. It was all, it was a new term up until Donald Trump spoke into existence. It's not an old-fashioned term. This is how out of touch Donald Trump is. Donald Trump hasn't shopped for groceries in God knows how long. That's not the president. Oh, I forgot. You're right. Donald Trump has a problem bringing out low-propensity voters because low-propensity voters only support Donald Trump because Donald Trump is their cult icon. Donald Trump has created a cult. Trump is the cult. Trumpism is the cult. As every second, the national average price for a gallon of regular gasoline in the U.S. $3.24. That's what I thought, WNN. Thank you for that update. If you can also look at that on the St. Louis Fred. Trump said egg prices are down 50% at the beginning of the speech. Now, about 30 minutes later, he said just down 58%. Yeah. He's never consistent. The next is going to be 100%. Why was the left loading the voters? Oh, here we go. First of all, the illegals cannot vote. Let me dispel this myth, by the way, because I heard someone mention this on TikTok the other day. Illegals cannot vote, or undocumented immigrants cannot vote on the federal election. However, they sometimes can vote in the state and local elections, in which case they would be on voter rolls. So in some cases, when you had heard that they were purging voter rolls and that happened, it's because they sometimes can vote in the state elections. So they proved that they did. Okay. And if they did, they probably should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of law. And you would be surprised by my statement here. They probably should be kicked out of the country. Yeah. So I would say that too. I know Democrats saying they should be kicked out of the country, but keep in mind, only after they have been proven guilty of that particular crime. I'm a big fan of due process. I know MAGA doesn't like due process. MAGA hates due process, but yeah, it should be proven.
Manufacturing jobs, and it was that took place
in
one month.
Angela?
Numbers that they haven't seen in a long time. We had virtually no inflation under my term. We had virtually no inflation for 4 years, but after transitioning over to Sleepy Joe, it went from almost non-existent to the highest in the history of our country. We had the highest inflation in the history of our.
So now this is an interesting thing. There is a reason Kamala lost. There is a reason Kamala lost so badly. Hold on one second. There's a reason Kamala lost so badly. No one has enjoyed the last 4 years. No, I think everybody. The problem. Well, first of all, I've enjoyed the past 4 years, but especially because of the fact that my children were born. But in terms of the economy, it's been pretty great. But the issue is that people are. This is the problem. Trump won by the appearance that the economy was doing terrible. Right? Donald Trump won on that. But he took that win to a whole nother extent. Donald Trump believed that he won by a referendum on more than just the economy. And he believes so adamantly that the economy was in an absolute tanker. And keep in mind, guys, by the way, Joe Biden tamed inflation. Okay? Understand that inflation continuously goes up. It's compounding. It's just going to continuously go up. It's never really going to go down. That's called deflation, and that's a bad thing for the economy as well. So, again, the problem is when they take, you give a mouse a cookie and then they take it a mile, right? They come back for more and they want another cookie and then another cookie and then another, and they go further and further. They're behaving as if they won by a 90% landslide, and that's just not the case. That's just not the case. Soggy Bagels, welcome into the Twitch chat. We need a comedic break. Check out Newsmax's stock price. How bad is it? Is it sunk? Probably pretty bad. It's like Tesla stock is probably like absolutely tanked.
Country brought up by energy and bad spending and bad policy, and a lot of bad things happened. How about allowing millions and millions and millions of people to pour into our country with open borders, where it's so sad to see even now. And I see our great secretary of You Have Done. Stand up, please, Christy. Stand up. Christy Noem and Tom Homan.
Christy Noem and Tom Homan probably are. I don't know. I could see Congress, honestly, possibly impeaching them. I'm not gonna lie to you. I could see that in the midterms, if Democrats take hold, I could totally see an impeachment happening if they take hold of both the House and the Senate, because the way that they're going with their immigration policy is absolutely abhorrent, violation of constitutional rights everywhere. And exactly, Dan Fries, the cosplay Christie, right? Every day she's wearing a new outfit that hasn't seen a speck of dirt, and she's just like trying to like play into this role. My chat's broke. What do you mean my chat's broke? Shouldn't be broke. Okay.
These people are doing a great job, but gotten them out in records. We have problems with judges that don't want them to go out. They want Tren de Aragua, and they want MS-13, the most vicious gangs ever. Nobody's ever seen.
How am I a coward, Steve? Maybe you should tell me that. Start with that.
Anything like it. Absolute killer gangs that kill
Thanks,
people.
Candy.
They
I
don't even think
appreciate
about it. And we put them out, and we have judges now, radical left judges that they don't want them to go out. They want them to even be brought back. Let's bring them back. You've done a fantastic job, and please thank everybody. Homeland Security, thank everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this whole idea that he's getting rid of these undocumented, criminal undocumented immigrants is laughable. In fact, he's violating numerous people's due process rights. They're being very reckless in how they apprehend some of these individuals. For example, we had Andres, the infamous gay barber. There was another individual that was I believe a green card holder, and a judge, immigration judge, had ordered that he should not be deported, and they deported him anyways. So I think one reason Kamala lost, and I hope you'll agree, wanting prisoners. Still, I was kind of optimistic at first until you said that. No. DEI, if you look at, this is the problem, is MAGA, anytime that people go, this is why Kamala lost, it's usually with some kind of a biases. The reality is that Kamala Harris won by WNN. How did you get the mod powers? I don't remember how I gave you the mod powers, but you got them. So, I don't know how you got it. I might have modded you. Someone might have modded you. Anyways, the one reason that Kamala Harris lost was not due to DEI. If you look at all the different pollings that you see, it's actually for the economy and immigration. And I think there was like democracy was like the top 3 or something. It wasn't even close. DEI wasn't even close, and they've ran on it as if this was what they won by. It was like the number one issue. It wasn't the number one issue. Nothing would suggest such. So, hey, WNN, I think you might be part of Miss Mandy's stuff. I haven't seen you in a bit, but hey, welcome in. All right.
And we now have a border that's the best border that we've ever had, even better than it was my first term. My first term we did good, but this one we really specialized in. We've
Okay,
done
Miss
really
Mandy.
well.
I
And,
thought I recognized WNN. I just couldn't put a finger on it. I know I pop in your chat sometimes. I love the body cam react videos, by the way. Body cam react videos are hilarious, and the sovereign citizen, the SovCit people, which are kind of similar to MAGA in a lot of way. Yeah, they're pretty hilarious.
We had records then. We had the best, safest border 4 years ago.
Okay,
The best
good.
border there ever was. And now we have, you've actually matched it and done even better. And we're going to get it down the right way. And we want people, by the way, to come into our country, but we want them to come in through a legal process.
trust you, Miss
We want them
Mandy.
to come in
I trust you.
legally. We
I
need more
appreciate it.
people. We need people to run these plants and to help the auto workers and the Teamsters and the non-union people and everybody else. But we need people, the farmers. And we're going to let people come in, but they want to come in. We want them to come in legally. They have to have the capability of loving our country, not people that hate our country. We don't want them in our country.
If someone is in prison, the government has a responsibility to provide them with reasonable health care. Yeah, exactly, Stephen. That's the big thing, right? Is that, like, I don't like really even trying to get into those arguments because they're so nonsensical. They're like, literally, those kinds of arguments are like 0.00001% of the entire population of the United States, and they're just trying to go off of like some little gotcha. Diver, where are the right? Exactly. They keep saying they're going to find waste, fraud, and abuse, but where is it? If there's fraud, then there should have been charges, but there's no charges.
And now we're going to pass the largest tax cuts in American history, and that's where we're relying on Mike and
Those tax cuts are definitely going towards the rich, just FYI.
John Thune. And we will not cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid benefits, and the Democrats will because
Wes saying SovCits are libertarians. Yeah, they're libertarians, but libertarians are conveniently always supporting MAGA. Just saying. They're like, the thing about it is that they're what I call closeted MAGA. And what they tend to do is they're the ones who would have voted for like Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis, but they would have never voted for someone like a Mitt Romney, right? They wouldn't have voted for a, hell, even be honest with you, they wouldn't have voted for, oh goodness, Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. They wouldn't have voted for him. which is ironic that he's in the Trump administration, but they wouldn't have voted for them. Those people who voted for Vivek or Ron DeSantis, I say you're a closeted MAGA. You know how bad MAGA looks, so you want to kind of wear that cape of the MAGA light policies, but you don't want to be associated, so you have that kind of out that you'd be like, I don't support Trump. Look, I supported Vivek. You having computer problems, man? No problem, Miss Mandy. I wish I had the confidence to be a soft sit. It would be crazy.
If they got in, the entire economy would collapse. This country was heading for a collapse under the people that you saw. They were horrible. I think one of the reasons people like the job, I had my highest approval ratings because I think they're comparing me to the worst administration in the history of our country. So I appreciate that at least. But
because this is already on track to be one of the worst administrations we have ever had.
Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and Senate Majority Leader, appreciate it, Mike. John Thune have been fantastic, by the way. But they've been working tirelessly on taking the next step to pass the plan.
Yeah, he never shared his taxes. He also never shared his cognitive results. He doesn't share much of anything.
For our one big beautiful bill. I'd like to name it that if you can. I made that statement about 6 months ago, and everybody calls it one big beautiful bill, and it will be that.
So, Cutter, what facts am I omitting? Please enlighten us. Tell me what facts I'm omitting.
It'll have everything, the big tax cuts and every incentive there is, and it'll be fantastic. And by the way, for the cars, we're asking for an interest deduction on a loan. So if you build the car, only in America we do it, Brian. If the car's not built in America, you don't get the interest rate deduction. But if you build a car in America, if you buy a car, if it's built in America, then you get an interest rate deduction, tax deduction, and that's a big thing. That's going to be a big thing. I think that's going to pay for itself very quickly.
I think there's a lot of issues with this. I think it can be. This is one thing I could say that could be good, but it makes me nervous because it's not as going to be as simple as you may think. I mean, it's not going to be. First of all, there's probably going to be some kind of a limit. It's probably going to be non-refundable, which means that all it's going to do is decrease your taxable income. Refundable basically means that if there's anything left over, if your taxable income were zero, for example, you would get the full backing of that credit. So you're not going to, this is the problem is a lot of people see tax cuts and they think they're going to get that money back. It's a little bit of a guise. Okay. So cautiously optimistic on this one, but I just don't think that it's going to be that. Go LSU 2000 said your show is a Great Depression. I am so sorry that it is a Great Depression. I'm watching the Great Depression right now, and it's this man right here. Like $1 billion towards an online survey. What are you talking about now? So that is a good point. Why would they not be able to backtrack who paid for these ridiculous things they claim? Oh, like $1 billion. Oh, I see what you're saying. They should be able to track them. And if they're not able to, then they probably aren't able to because they're incompetent. I don't know. But they shouldn't claim there's fraud if they can't track it.
Deduction never happened. We've never had anything like that before. Somebody said, where do you get the idea? Because it's so basic. You would think that would have happened a long time ago. It never did, and I'm very happy it didn't because now I can.
Yeah, WNN. Fun fact, what caused the Great Depression? Answer, tariffs. Absolutely. Smoot-Hawley and isolationist policies were what led to the Great Depression. We went into an isolationist kind of mode after World War I. There was the Roaring 20s, right? We kind of saw that recently. Just saying, the 20s are very identical to the time that we're living in right now. Very identical. We became isolationist. We thought we could just throw tariffs out there and it would, fix everything. And next thing you know, ding, 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 Great Depression came along.
I can say that was my idea. But we're going to get us closer to the debt extension. We have to get the debt extension passed, and I know you're going to be able to do that, Mike, and it's very important that you do that. And all of the other things that the Senate budget plan gives us, along with working, because I know they're working together, John and Mike.
Thank you for that subscription,
and the two bills are going very well together. We need to get our shared priorities done, including certain permanent tax cuts. We want the tax cuts to be permanent, spending cuts, energy and historic investments in defense, border.
Okay, guys, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to punish you guys for just a minute, okay? This is at 1.5 speed. Here's normal. Okay, this is normal.
And so much more. We're covering everything. These will be phenomenal. There'll be no bill like this going to straighten. One bill is going to...
Y'all probably wish that I had it at 1.5% speed. All right, let's go back up.
To straighten out our country for many, many years to come. And we said, let's just do it and let's get it done. And some guys will love it and some guys will like it a little bit less because they're not getting what they were exactly looking for, but they're getting a lot. They'll never, if we get this done, it'll be the most incredible bill ever passed in the history of our Congress and Senate and congressmen, the senators and the congressmen, many of whom are here today, will be very proud of themselves. I really believe that it's going to set us on a whole new prosperous path.
Oh, dear God, someone changes back. Oh God, exactly. It's a pretty slow speed. So I had to crank it up. Also for sake of time, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to get through this in the next hour.
We're going to cut spending and right-size the budget back to where it should be. We're going to do that.
Keep in mind, Donald Trump asked for the debt ceiling to be increased. Okay, they're going to save money, but they want to increase the debt ceiling. Huh? Makes sense.
Very strongly. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, John. Thank you. Oh, look at all of our senators. Oh.
I'm glad that now he has kind of inadvertently admitted that Donald Trump is suffering from some kind of a dementia here.
Oh, boy. That's a nice group of people. But I won't like them so much if they don't get this bill done. That's a great group. And, Congressman, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Tremendous people. The Senate plan is my...
That's very true, Steel Taz. I had somebody I was watching on on a TikTok live last night, and they actually had a Make America Great Again hat, and they looked on the inside, and it said Made in China. However, the Kamala Harris and Tim Walz hats actually said Union Made and Made in the USA, by the way on that.
Complete and total support, and the House plan likewise is very similar. They're moving along pretty much.
So, Eric, the problem with what you're saying about American automakers, and I'd have to check every single one of those, is that they're not 100% made in the United States. I'll have to double check all those exact ones, like the Silverado, Escape, Explorer, Mustang, all that. I don't believe they're 100% made in the United States. I mentioned this earlier. What ends up happening is they'll partially build it in the United States, and it'll be claimed as if it's made in the United States. I could be wrong on all those. I don't know if those are the ones that are included in that. I know that I believe Ford is one that is pretty heavily made in the United States, so I could be wrong on that one. But even with Ford, I believe their supply chain goes outside of the United States. So, is this more right or left stream? I'm okay either way. Just curious. I'll make sure I'm respectful. Hey, Days Romero, welcome in. I feel like you came in here before. This is a left-wing stream, but I say left-wing. I'm more like a liberal. I'm not like, far left or anything crazy like that.
At the same clip, and as soon as you're ready, you'll show it to me, and I'm sure it'll have my support, Mike.
The small parts assemblies are not made in these. That's what I thought. That's what I'm saying. Not every single car is 100% made in the United States, and depending on how far you want to take that, right? Like the steel and aluminum and all that stuff that's made for the frame of the vehicles are not going to be 100% made in the United States either. And even the raw materials for those things are not going to be 100% made in the United States. So you got to look at it that way. Trump is doing what we voted for. Trump is not doing what y'all voted for. Well, I mean, maybe in the way of raising prices on everyday Americans. Good job.
Every Republican congressman and senator must unify. We have to unify. We can't be separated. We have to get it done. We have to get absolutely everything we can, and we have to take care.
No, you're good, Days Romero. I vaguely remember you coming on here either last week or the week before, but welcome in, buddy. Welcome back.
Of the American people. That's the only thing that matters. We have to take care of the American people first. We need to pass this bill immediately, get it done, including debt extension. From this day on, we're not going to let anyone tell us.
He snuck that in there. He's like, we're going to save money and do this and this. And he's like, oh, yeah, we're going to do it by debt extension. On to the next topic. It's like, wait, he just said debt extension. Okay, why do you need to raise the debt if you're saving money? Why do we need more debt? Oh, that's right. Because you're not going to save money.
Us that American workers and families cannot have the future that they deserve. We're going to produce the cars and ships, chips, airplanes, minerals, and medicines that we need right here in America. The pharmaceutical companies are going to become roaring back. They're coming roaring back. They're all coming back to our country because if they don't, they got a big tax to pay. And if they do, I'll be very happy, and you're going to be very happy, and you're going to be very safe. We're going to build our future with American hands, with American heart, American steel, and we're going to build it with American pride like we used to. We're approaching our 100th day as president and have been given credit by a lot of people, actually, even some of the fake news. Can you believe it? Which in this case hopefully isn't fake, for having done more in that time than any other administration in the history.
Let's be very clear here, okay? One thing I've seen touted is how many press conferences Donald Trump has done. I've seen how many executive orders that he's put in place. But keep in mind, within the first 100 days, there's not been one single meaningful piece of legislation. I believe Joe Biden managed to get the American Rescue Plan done in record time. Let me go ahead and pull that up real quick, and then we'll finish watching like that last little bit of this. I believe the American Rescue Plan got done within Joe Biden's first 100 days. Let me see. American Rescue Plan 2021. March 11th, 2021. Joe Biden got an absolutely immense package through Congress within the first 90 days, or first 100 days. Might have been 90 days. March 11th. Whereas Donald Trump, not one single meaningful piece of legislation. Not one. Not one. All executive orders, which again, I have an issue with that as well. All right, let's finish this up.
Of our country in the first 100 days. I think we've had an amazing in terms of what we've done, what we've gotten accomplished. I think see if we can get that war ended and another war from not starting in the Middle East. We have to get Russia. They're losing 2,000 on average, 2,500 people today, young people, soldiers, Russian. Think of that, 2,500 through some days, but on average, probably over about a 1 week period, it's 2,712. They say they're losing those soldiers. They're dying. They're being decimated, and they're not from our country, but they're.
Yeah, no, so Steve, I would agree with you. This is the one thing when people talk about like, well, you voted for Joe Biden. First of all, I actually voted for Trump in 20, okay? I'm not happy about that vote. I did. I voted for Trump in 20. I voted for Kamala Harris and Colin Allred this election. But the one thing I was not happy about with Joe Biden was the stimulus checks that were sent out. Now, the American Rescue Plan had some, I believe, some good pieces of legislation. It's been a little bit since I've looked at it. There were some good pieces of it, but those stimulus checks I thought were wholly unnecessary. Did they contribute to inflation? Yes, key word though, contributed. Did they cause inflation? I guess you could say in a roundabout way they may have, but I don't think that they were the initiator of inflation. I think Donald Trump initiated that by 2 different rounds of stimulus checks, one of which, by the way, was in December of 2020, as Joe Biden was about to take office. And Donald Trump had a lot of issues with that as well. He spent a record amount of money, even for COVID-19. He spent a ton of money. So I agree you're more of a Kennedy Democrat. Probably. Actually, now that you mention it, Steve, probably. I would say probably. I don't know too much about Kennedy, but I think from the little I know, I think you'd probably be right on that. But again, it's also because of the way that I look at myself as a Democrat is because it's one of those things where the right left me. Right. I can't tell you how many times I would sit there and have a reasonable conversation. Wes is in here. He can vouch for this. I'd have a reasonable view on these things. And the MAGA party has absolutely consumed the Republican Party so much that anytime I would speak up and be like, hey, look, I think, the left has somewhat of a valid point here. Oh, my goodness. I was called a communist. I was called a socialist. I was called a Marxist. You name it. I was like, guys, I'm on the right. I voted for Trump. And they're like, nope, you're a communist. You're a thing. It's like, bro, what are you talking about? You're a Kissinger Republican? Maybe. Well, but that's the problem though, right? It's like nowadays it feels like there's only 2 parties. There's no longer like moderate Republicans. It's either you're MAGA or you're left. At least in MAGA's eyes, right? I obviously, realistically, there is 2 different parties, but there is. The MAGA party has consumed the Republican Party. So for all intents and purposes, it is MAGA or the left. I mean, there's just really not that many other options. Kennedy couldn't win as a Democrat today? Oh, I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Democrats now, though, I think really need to push more left. Democrats need to appeal more to their actual hardcore base. They don't need to appeal to like moderates. I'm sorry. The Democrat playbook, that's where I think Kamala Harris went wrong, is she was far too moderate. Any MAGA in here is going to say that she was a communist or a Marxist. That's hilarious. That's laughable. No, Kamala Harris is one of probably the most moderate Democrats that we've seen in recent history. I'm on camera. Oh, there we go. So again, yeah. You do have a strong dislike for Trump. I absolutely have a dislike for Trump. And it's grown. So Steve, to be very clear, and again, Wes could vouch for this. Yeah, Wes would always argue with me. The thing is I supported Trump from like 16 to 20, and I'd say about 21 is where it really started to tank pretty heavily. It's kind of one of those things of like, how many times can you sit here and say that this is, oh, well, you just don't understand. Donald Trump actually means this and he actually means that. And, oh, he's just joking. Like, it's the same excuse over and over and over and over and over again. And it gets tiring. It's like, this isn't a valid excuse anymore, right? It may have been like a valid excuse at first had it changed, but it didn't change. So the problem is that like, I realized that slowly the facts don't care about your feelings party no longer were the facts don't care about your feelings party. They became the feelings party, right? They're all about feels. There was no facts on the Republican side. When you say tank, it was due to COVID. Well, the problem is with that, Steve, is that there was a ton of different factors, right? So there was different policies by, whether it be Democrat states or Republican states, which, by the way, Donald Trump had also recommended a slow opening. But you can also look at the fact that there was the OPEC deal that Donald Trump made. You can look at the fact that Donald Trump also put into place 2 massive spending packages that can't think of the word I'm looking for. It hyperinflated the economy. And Joe Biden contributed to that, but Joe Biden was handed that economy, and inflation takes time, right? This is why I say when we look at where the inflation, the CPI numbers went up under Joe Biden to 9%, that was because of the fact that it was lagging, right? Inflation is a lagging indicator. So by the time that we got down to where Joe Biden's policies actually started to take effect, was we saw CPI go down to 2%. Now, keep in mind, guys, for anyone who's unaware of economic terms, CPI is year over year. It means the rate at which it's growing. So Joe Biden brought it down to 2%. By the way, there was inflation under Donald Trump. It's just that the inflation was relatively low year over year because there was a lagging indicator. The other reason that I tell people this is that think about this. When you enact a policy, these policies have effects up to and including 10 years. This is why I say Donald Trump signed into law $8 trillion into our deficit. That means that those bills are going to have effects well into Joe Biden's administration. Now, you might be saying, well, Doc House, you might be saying, Vince Wilson, Vince. Doesn't that mean that right now we're under Joe Biden's policies? You would be right. However, Donald Trump has brought Elon Musk in to slash some of these programs. He's also come in and implemented tariffs. Those are on Trump and not on Biden. Inflation from this point forward is on Trump and not Biden. However, if Donald Trump had not implemented these tariffs and just let the economy go the way it's going, then I would have said, hey, Donald Trump is just simply inheriting Joe Biden's policies. Anything that's not there, but these are directly correlative. Was a stimulus explained? Okay, so the reason why it's very basic here, okay? If you give everyday Americans, right, $1,200, keep in mind in the summer of 2020, unemployment skyrocketed and many people got unemployment benefits well beyond what they would normally receive. If you got $700 in unemployment benefits, you would get $700 from the federal government. It was like match for match. And then in December, we had another $1,200 or $2,400 or whatever it was, okay, depending on how many kids you had and how many family members you had. And then all of a sudden in January or March of the following year, the American Rescue Plan, we had another round of stimulus packages. So what were people doing? Prices had not adjusted yet to these new, like, tons of money, like $10,000 worth of dollars that were just going out to the economy. It had not adjusted yet. So people had a lot of money and prices were relatively cheap compared to that. So what happens? We got a ton of demand, very little supply. It's basic econ 101. So yeah, $3K per kid. It was insane. Yeah, not to mention, by the way, not to mention the tax credits you got from 2021. By the way, I don't know if y'all remember that. There were some special tax credits I believe you can get in 2021. It was pretty crazy. So it had not caught up, which led to prices increasing pretty exponentially. And so that's why we saw hyperinflation, because it took time for companies to kind of adjust to that. The tariffs were early in his first term. If that were the case, he would have left office at 1.4% inflation. Stimulus came in right at the right time for me. Yay. Look, I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed the hell out of those stimulus bills, okay? Look, give me the stimmy checks, okay? I enjoyed it. But I'm not going to sit here and deny the fact that it absolutely led to record high inflation. You use inflation interchangeably with price. I agree that Trump bears some responsibility for inflation, but Biden does too. Mostly folders. I acknowledge that. That's why I said there is some of that credit to go to Joe Biden for the stimulus packages. But it's one stimulus package. Donald Trump implemented two, as well as one of those packages helping out people on unemployment in the summer of 2020. Trump had a far greater impact on inflation than Joe Biden did. And in part of that American Rescue Plan, it was to try to spur up the economy to get back down, get inflation back under control. So it's kind of one of those things where it was like, yeah, he gave out stimulus checks, but there was also some things to really kind of reinvigorate the economy a little bit as well. So you're making a case to never raise the minimum wage because corporations will just raise their prices. It's a perpetual inflation. You're speaking in circles, man. No, by the way, I'm aware that increasing minimum wage could increase prices. I'm aware of that. But I would argue, I'm not someone who argues for increasing it to $15 an hour. If you're thinking that. I think that I'm more on the scale of saying, hey, here's the thing. If you look at it, we have not raised the federal minimum wage in well over, I think at this point, like 20 years. It's been an insane amount of years since we've raised the minimum wage. I think it used to be, prior to that, every like 5 to 10 years, we would raise the minimum wage just $1 or so. And so we should try to stay to that rate. It also should keep up with inflation as well, right? I mean, and again, there's not a whole lot of people that are under minimum wage, so we got to keep that in mind as well. Will it raise prices? Yes, but where would it affect the most? Think through this critically, right? So let's walk through this example. Who are those who are sitting on minimum wage? It's mostly going to be your fast food workers. It's going to be some of your retail workers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Keep in mind, though, that a lot of these retailers during COVID had to pay higher wages for these employees. Okay? Follow me. Track with me here. So they've already increased their minimum wage. The Target, McDonald's, so on and so forth. They're already at like $15 an hour. There's not very many stores left that are paying at $7 an hour, which means that if they increased it to say, let's say $8, $10 an hour, $15 an hour, or whatever. If it increased to that, okay, well, Stephen Lee, if it had kept up with inflation, it'd be $96. Maybe. And that's not what entirely I meant. So I apologize. Then in reality, it would be a very minimal price increase. Very minimal. Very, very, very minimal. Price increase on that. Price on material definitely screwed a lot up when building homes and flipping houses. Well, Days Romero, the problem is that we have Donald Trump trying to impose tariffs on Canada right now. And those tariffs on Canada are going to affect home prices via the way of lumber. Think about toilet paper. By the way, I know a lot of people are like, what, toilet paper? Toilet paper gets mostly manufactured from the wood pulp from Canada. Fun fact.
They're from other countries, but they're human beings. They're from Russia. They're from Ukraine in this period, most of them. And we're going to get it stopped. It's a senseless war that would have never happened if I was president, and it shouldn't be allowed to go on. And I think we're being given good cooperation by Russia and by...
Well, and this is the thing I've been saying too, Steele, is that a lot of MAGA right now is like, oh my God, I'd say this is a great time that we should have had price gouging laws. Because guess what's going to happen is, when inflation goes through the roof, these companies aren't going to drop their prices. You think they're going to drop their prices? They've now got an excuse to raise their prices crazily and blame these tariffs. This is why we needed a price gouging law. This is why we needed Kamala Harris to come in. Now, granted, when Kamala Harris would have come in, she wouldn't have implemented these crazy tariffs. But now, we're going to need a price gouging law.
Ukraine, but we have to get it stopped. It's humanity. It's humanity. It's a terrible thing. This will be a very big moment.
Canada is already talking about getting rid of the tariffs on their side. I'm not too sure if that's the case. I'll have to look more into that.
And I think you're going to remember today, it's going to be a free nation that we're dealing with. We're going to have a very free and beautiful nation. It's going to be Liberation Day in America, and it's going to be a day that hopefully you're going to look back in years to come and you're going to say, he was...
Oh, 100%, Eric. Price gouging laws are severely needed, but they will blame tariffs. Yeah, exactly. And again, for anybody wondering about price gouging laws and thinking I'm saying about a price ceiling or a price floor, you are patently incorrect. The way that I look at price gouging laws is it would be a percentage increase. In other words, and I believe this is what Kamala Harris advocated for, is that in other words, if you were to increase your prices from, let's say today they're $1, and the next thing is tomorrow they're $10, that's an exponential increase in your dollar amount. Now, keep in mind, actually, I believe this was Kamala Harris's campaign. What it would look like is that you would then be under investigation for price gouging, and you would have to then justify that price increase. If there was some kind of an increase in, expenses or whatever, and it passed the bar, if you will, then you'd be fine to keep it at $10. However, if it's found out that you had no reason to increase it to $10 an hour, you're going to get slapped with a pretty hefty fine. So again, a lot of people don't want to understand what exactly price gouging is. Price gouging is not a price floor or price ceiling. That's not how that works. So what if your raw materials increase 20%? If it increased by 20%, Steve, and you can justify that price increase, by all means, right? You have to be able to justify that increase. That's all. Tariffs will be the scapegoat? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Eric. I want to see a Nintendo commercial that shows a $400 Switch 2, then shows a $599 price. Wes, keep in mind, too, that's supposed to release in June, and I don't know where Nintendo ships their stuff from. It could be Japan or China, but it'd be interesting to see, they're like, hey, guys, we said it was going to be $499. Psych. It's kind of, or $400, whatever. It's going to be actually like $600. Okay, sorry, we due to tariffs. Price increases due to everyone wanting minimum wage to be $20. And Jedi, welcome in. I do not advocate for a $20 minimum wage. I think that's way too high. I think the max, absolute max I would advocate for is $15. But that's not what I would prefer. I'd prefer it to maybe go up to 10. I could see 10 being fair.
That's right. This has turned out to be one of the most important days in the history of our country. God bless you and God bless America. Thank you, everybody.
So there we go. How about if you think the price is too much, don't buy it? Well, if you think the price is too much, don't buy it. That's perfectly fine too. And again, this is assuming that it's a and this is the problem too, is what if this is a good that you need? I forgot what the freaking word's called. It's leaving my brain right now. But you think about like food. Should food go up by 20%? It's something that people need, right? Should water go up by 20%? Can you justify that? How did that go? I mean, I guess if you have like the plants and stuff, that certain parts or something, fuel maybe that goes up. I'm not sure. 1970, the average U.S. house price was $17,000. Average wage was $6,000. 2024 average house price $419,000. I've seen that before. WNN. Wages have not kept up with inflation. However, wages were outpacing inflation under Joe Biden, and they had done so for quite a while. But again, keep in mind what outpacing means. It doesn't mean that wages are exceeding inflation. It just means that wages are outpacing the growth to which inflation is growing. So keep that in mind as well. Personally, I'm out of the remodeling game. I was in Milwaukee living in a job. Dang, dazed. I'm sorry to hear that, man. Now we own and run Regal. Don't mention your name of your company, bro. Don't do it. But if you're good with naming the name of it, that's good though. I'm glad to hear prices are doing good and you're doing good. My workers still install a lot of fiber and Cat 6, so I'm sure how this will affect us. It'll probably affect you quite a bit. I would imagine that kind of a wiring, the materials for that, the plastics and everything else, probably China. In which case you're probably going to be paying, quite a bit from that. There might be some copper in there. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we get where do we get most of our copper from? Let's see. Where does the U.S. get most of its copper from? Does the U.S. get most of its copper? Okay, so it says U.S. produces about half of the refined copper it consumes domestically. Huh. Primarily from mines in Arizona, with the rest being imported mainly from Chile, Canada, and Peru. So, what I wanted to show, let me see if I can pull it up real quick before I forget. I want to show this. Also, mainly fiber optic. Oh, okay, cool. I wanted to show this. I have switched primarily to Blue Sky because I do not support, at this point, I will admit, I was paying Elon or X for that, and there's reasons for it, right? So I can download videos so that I can get higher up in the replies, because the way that X works is it's a pay-to-play kind of thing. But I'm not paying $50 a month. The price increases absolutely drove me away from it. Clearly, X is struggling for money. So I went over to Blue Sky pretty exclusively. But I want to show this here. Trump is imposing a 10% tariff on the Heard and McDonald Islands, except that the Heard and McDonald Islands are uninhabited. You can't really see it because of, y'all can see it over here. Y'all can't really see it here, actually. Hold on. Let me shrink this for you guys. Y'all can kind of see it there. Hold on one second. Oh, there we go. So you can kind of see it right here. Heard and McDonald Islands. There's no one there. Yet they're charging a 10% tariff on them. There's something wrong there. Thank you, Dan Fries. I appreciate you following. There's also several other islands that are just super weird. And what it looks like they did, according to what I've seen, is they may have done this on the infographic where they took a list of territories, like Australia, for example, and all of their surrounding islands. So in this case, the Heard of McDonald Islands is owned by Australia. Thus, they're slapping a tariff on there, even though there's no one there except for like penguins. Yeah, it is going to out tariffs on penguins soon. That's already going to happen. Both are considered inhabited home to a large population of penguins. Yeah, exactly. So we're seeing that. I didn't even know Reunion was an actual like place. Apparently it is. It's Reunion Island or something. Bidets, wherever they're spelled, are going to skyrocket. Yeah. Trump announced on True Social they wants tariff. Yeah, there's very right. It was first of all, there's very little coming in from there. But second, that's just insane. It's just patently insane. I'm trying to find. There was something. Let me see if I can find this. Hold on. Let me try to pull this up real quick. Let me go up on X real quick. This will be one of the last things I show because, you know, listen, guys, you want me to go another 30 minutes? You have to, you know, we have to meet our goal. Let me see here. Sign in. Oh, it's got me sign in. I don't know. Okay, it's not gonna be sign in. They showed all the different prices. They want to do like 46% or something on China. They want to do like 90%. It's insane. So expect your prices to go up. We are going to see a lot of people struggling massively. We'll see if Donald Trump keeps these tariffs. So what's the goal? How do you reach your goal on here? Oh, it's up here. So basically it's at the very top of the chat. You can see 5 super chats. I stream another 30 minutes, but we're about to get off. If y'all want to donate, you're more than welcome to. But I'm probably going to get off now because we haven't reached our goal. But I got some homework and stuff to do tonight anyways. So I think it's 34% on China. I think you're right, Steve. It's quite a bit. It's quite a bit. And they're trying to justify it by saying we're giving them a discount because they're charging us, 60%. It's like, no, you're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're trying to make up some weird random number, right? Expect to see the factories come back as companies realize manufacturing here costs less than importing. Here's the problem, Chris, is these are on all imported goods. So they may bring the manufacturing back to the United States, but that raw material is still going to be imported from other countries. So, great idea in theory. But listen, guys, I would love to continue chatting with you guys. I appreciate every single thing that you guys have done. I appreciate your support. Again, we will be coming back on Friday. What we will be doing is and I have no idea how to raid. I wish I did. I wish this was like Twitch where I could just do /raid, but it's not that simple on YouTube. So what I would do is I'd recommend go to see Pisco and go and see Pondering Politics. They're doing a stream right now. You'll have a great night. See y'all on Friday. Please come by Friday. Please. We're going to be doing TikTok debates. I'm hoping. All right. All right, guys. Y'all have a great one. Go check those guys out.